Welcome to our podcast, Wilhelmsen Success Stories. Artur, you are the boss of Vulcan Training Center, but you started your career at sea. You said 19 years ago here.
Yes, exactly, 19 years.
19 years
Yes.
ago. And you have been with us, if I recall correctly, from our crewing management system, something around 7 years. That's a lot of time.
That's correct.
And you have been here as a second officer, chief officer. And I was wondering, I partially know from the previous general manager of this office what and how inspired you, because she has told me that there was Artur Ambrożewicz, and he was coming and saying while working at sea that I'm going to open here in Szczecin a big training center where people will be able to train for offshore.
And no one believed it.
And now you believe it.
No one's believed it.
No one's
believed
okay.
it.
Oh, I see. That's not a surprise to me. So I wanted to understand how work at sea inspired you. Why actually? How did you spot this niche? And how did you believe?
So, yes, 19 years ago when I came to that office, I was, I think Mateusz Mariusz offered me a second officer job on Gikotau. And he said, but you need to go to the Rotterdam to make a Hewitt helicopter underwater escape training.
Gikotau, that was the seismic vessel.
Seismic vessel, I was, yes, the gunboat.
Operated by Wilhelmsen.
That's correct, operated by Wilhelmsen. And then I got the joining instruction from him, and it was like a 1A4 card with you need to go by car, then by plane, then by train, by bus, by taxi. And when I look on it and I said, listen, if I manage to reach that training center, I will definitely get that job, because it was so difficult. I was traveled there for so long. And then when I did that first time, I was wondering why first time in 2006, that was my first Hewitt session. And since that time, I was thinking, why don't we have this one in Poland? Why do I have to travel so long? So yes, the Wilhelmsen, the first touch with you, actually the first week with you, with Wilhelmsen, bring me that idea to my head in 2006. So that's how the story begins.
Okay, and that is the start of the vision. And I'm quite amazed about entrepreneurs that are able to create a vision, but then to make it happen. And this is because there is a lot of people with coming up with ideas. And as many say, idea is not the problem. The implementation, the execution is the problem. Can you tell me what is your secret? What is this very deeply convinced that this is the possibility? This is feasible, actually possible.
So we writing our history ourselves. So I write my own history. So I always choose a job, not how to make the money, but I choose a job carefully, how much I can learn. That was my priority. I work with Wilhelmsen 7 years. I work 4 years on one vessel, but this vessel was involved in so many different kind of operation, very difficult, very complex. And then people were coming and go, and I choose to stay and I choose to learn. The money wasn't perfect. Of course, I could make maybe bigger money, but I never choose the work like this. I always choose the work how much I can learn. And that was my first goal, the knowledge. And then when I get that idea, I was thinking, okay, how much I need to know to run the center. I need to know the offshore, how it works. I want to be the best as I can in the subject I was responsible for. So learning. There is a part in your life when money shouldn't be matter for you. There is always time for money later on when you're 40, 50, 60. There is the time to cut the tickets, how the people call it. But there is a time in your life where you need to focus on what do you know. And then I was working offshore. I was working for the Maritime Academia here in Ludowa 8. I was running the training for STCW. I try to get as much as I can everywhere I go, even for free sometimes. But this is how I prepare myself to make it happen, to this execution. Of course, the execution may never come because in 2016 I lost the job, right? So,
but the knowledge doesn't go away.
Of course.
And so I understand. Looking at, there are two aspects: the practicalities and let's say more general. There was the aspect that related to your general approach, knowledge, always, meaning you were at a place where you need to train more because you were, let's say, developing, taking the position of chief officer, taking new courses, etc. So you could understand better what are the, let's say, other side aspect, the training center. At the same time, you were not only working at sea, but you were also working ashore. Right. So you constantly were focused on your goal, because normally what seafarers do, they go at sea for 1 month or 4 months or 3 months, and then they just relax. In general, not all, in general. And you decided, okay, when I'm at home, I will go to work at the training center, another training center, develop skills, develop understanding of the business, at least some aspects of the business. So I understand how to implement better, and I'm not, running into a disaster. Because even if one has money, has, let's say, opportunity, perfect opportunity, but doesn't have good understanding of what he or she is doing, that's an easy way to a big losses.
That's correct. And then wytrwałość, how would you say in English? Like the goal you have to achieve, to be focused on and go to it. Doesn't even if you have a lot of problems in between. I never.
So you don't ever give up.
Never give up. Yes. Yeah. I would like to come back to my sea story. I was to become a captain. That was my dream when I was a little boy. From the little boy, I was in the sailing sports school. I was doing sailing since I was 7 years old. I spent all my life on lake sailing to the regatta, and that was my dream. So I went to the secondary school, to Morskie Liceum Zawodowe in Gdańsk, secondary maritime school, and after that I became a seaman. So my Siemens book, the first Siemens book I got in 1996.
That's very early.
that's a long time ago.
You were not adult at that time, were you?
Oh, no. I'm 79, so I was 17 years old. Yeah. And then I work on the tugboats, on the Vush.
I know the company.
Yeah. So, because before that, before we start, the goal is to convince the young people to actually take that path, and I think it's still worth it, even if we have so many opportunities here. The projects, you don't need to. The people have they think the Siemens work is to go from point A to point B. They don't know much offshore, because there is not much offshore during the education. Maybe it's changed now, but when I was in the university, we have never heard about offshore and what they do, the multi-purpose offshore vessels, how complex the operations, the crane, the diving, the ROV, construction, underwater drilling, welding, whatever, and you can touch and see how it works. And when you have 100 people on board and every one of them doing something different, you can go to the navigational room and see what they do, the ROV, what they do, the mechanical. So you can touch every single thing on the operation, and then how you can learn.
So there are two aspects here that I would like to touch on. One is responsibility when working at sea, which is huge. And what is important to understand is that responsibility gives meaning, gives purpose, gives sense or some kind of to life. But the proper expression is gives meaning to life. And that is one aspect. And people, when they work at sea, they have no other choice than take the responsibility, because each and every person has a specific area
Yes.
of responsibility that is specifically written, and it's attached to their position. There is no one else responsible for that unless holding overall responsibility over a specific subject. That's one point. And this meaning is something people need in these times. Unfortunately, some decide to not to take up the responsibility. In general, they are rather avoid. They are rather say, "Oh, this is not my part. I'm not going to take this. I'm not going to touch this," and this creates lack of meaning in people's life. And this is dangerous part. How do you create this? But what the education at the universities and practice on board vessels gives is the confidence. Then you are not actually afraid to take the responsibility, because you had the proper training.
Yeah.
Without it, they will not let you work. How do you handle? Because how did you handle responsibility at sea, which was challenging already? I remember for me at the very beginning, it was a struggle, especially that I was on a vessel that was very, very speedy, and in China, it's China Sea, and that was a container vessel, really challenging. And how do you handle your responsibility now as a entrepreneur, as a boss of a big training center, training I don't know how many hundreds of people? So can you compare these two areas of responsibility from your perspective?
That's the two different stories, because when you driving the boat, you are responsible for a life. Your mistake can take some lives away. When you have a divers in the water and you SDPO or DPO, dynamic positioning officer, then your mistake and they can take a life. That's huge responsibility. But I love that pressure. It's maybe strange, but it comes from regatta, from sports. When you challenge yourself, when you try to win the race, that's bring you some kind of endorphins, or so that pressure keeps me happy. So I really adrenaline addicted. That's correct. But of course, it's in the positive way. Yeah. And really, even now I miss about that adrenaline, because working here, of course, I'm responsible for. I employ 120 people now in
Wow.
the group.
How many do you train per year or per?
Few thousand people. We train few thousand people a year. So it's huge.
Wow.
But your mistake doesn't take a life.
At least not directly.
Not directly, and of course, but the pressure, the responsibility is different. Yeah. Now I'm responsible for the people, for employees, to make the contract, so I can fulfill the responsibility of the paying wages. The legal thing. I need to be sure that we do everything is legally in our company. We paid wages. Everything is correct according with the standards we follow. So that's the responsibility, but a different kind.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes I miss that job at sea. I would really love to go for maybe month or two at sea and bring my head into the working at sea a little bit easier than running own company. You're not responsible for so many things. You have your garden, your vessel. Even if you captain, you're responsible for the project. You know where you're going. Everything is well planned. You have. You are not responsible for crewing to bring the right competences to fulfill the contract requirements. Of course, on the vessel, you need to be seaworthy, you need to be ready to go, but your responsibility, when you look on the whole company involved in that project, you are one of the stone. They have many stones. And when I run my own company, I'm responsible for everything, for legal, for contracting, for selling, marketing, maintenance, instructors, etc. You have all the thing you need to be worried. So, but the sea bring me that competences, gives me that competences, so I can handle it. I learned
confidence.
That and confidence, yes, because I see what can go wrong, yeah.
I heard one time when I was in at course, STCW course in Gdynia, that was a statement from Karol Parafen that on average he is a psychologist, but he is closely related with the Gdańsk University, I believe. He's a professor there on TED Talks also. And that time I had a training with him, and he said that seafarer on average is executing 200 actions per day, while a person working and living ashore more or less 600 or 800. This kind of difference. So in one way, seafarer's life is easy because, as you said, little number of let's say tasks. Yes. Exactly. On the other hand, there is so many opportunities as you touch at sea because you can work with ROVs. You can work in drilling. There is so many well cementing, etc. These are all jobs at sea. In drilling, there are specific departments responsible only just for drilling. People don't know it, so that's why I mentioned it. On seismic vessel, you have seismic navigators, you have gunners. Gunners. You have observers responsible for the cables that are towed behind the vessel, and this is the job you can maybe not directly get after the maritime university, but you can get it also.
Crane operators.
You don't have to. Yeah, exactly. There is so many opportunities. I'm still very, very amazed about the broadness of this topic, because even if you are not, let's say, mathematically super skilled, but you have this good feeling in your fingers and good intuition, you can operate huge cranes, and you can actually also make a big money and be a big part in this whole mechanism. Big and very important
one. Or ROV pilot. I was thinking to become an ROV pilot myself. I love that when I have that joystick and the cameras around and they were looking the sub animals and all these things. They technicians. They need to take the ROV apart. They need to repair it, change maybe the arms, etc. So yes, the width of the range of the responsibilities you can have on job on the big complex offshore vessel, it's way wider than originally you can imagine.
That's actually that's all true. I was also wondering how did you manage to develop your micro habits, because you are a very efficient person, and how did you manage to develop all the small habits that create Artur Ambrożewicz, because we are the sum of our habits, more or less, someone said, pretty much like that. Are you very strict with yourself, pushing yourself all the time, and trying to be conscious and not to run your day automatically? How do you handle that?
Well, the habits, I think it comes, again, you're building all your life. I was living in the student's house for 9 years in the secondary school. So first of all, I need to take my area around me clean. I need to have all my t-shirts need to be here, socks here, caps and everything around me. Because when you share the room with the 4 guys, you need to be, your habits need to keep your clothes closed.
So as Jordan Peterson said, clean up your room first.
Clean up your room first, or make your bed first. Yeah.
Okay.
Because then when you wake up, you make your bed first, and then you start changing the world. If you can't make your bed first, then how would you like to start to change the world when your first thing you should do it's not done already, right? So brush your teeth and simple things like that. And when it brings you to the big company, then you handle it the same as your room, right? So the training center need to be clean. Everything need to be proper prepared. Need to have certificates hanging in the right place. I used to talk to my guys. If it need to be a sheet, let that shit to be in one place, right?
Yeah. Okay. That's a good one.
So this is how it starts. Of course, I need to build new habits. Like you say, on the vessel, I was managed to remember everything. I don't need to do notes. I remember everything because the tasks were like 200 tasks I managed to remember, but here I have 1,000 tasks. So I start to make a notes, properly arrange my calendar. If it's something it's not in my calendar, I know it will not happen. So if I need to meet you, I need to put in my calendar. Otherwise, I would be not here. I will remember. I will forget now because there is so many. So you need to be organized from the very beginning. When I enter the room, the hotel room, and I see pants are there, t-shirts there, something. So I know the person is not organized. When you enter to my hotel room, everything is hangs. The shirts are hangs. Everything is like clean. So this is who I am. Maybe a little bit more pedant, but it helps.
But that helped you to build the business. Okay.
Yes.
What is overarching goal or mission of your business, and what is your next goal? These are like two separate but interrelated questions.
The mission from the very beginning, while working at sea, I knew that every time I go for some course, it's not my approach. It was not to get the certificate, but to get the knowledge. That's what I was expecting from the course.
And you still carry on the same approach?
Yes. So for us, our mission, the Vulcan training mission, is for your safe return. So we teach not to give your certificates. We teach to give you knowledge. So you can get that knowledge to your job and come back home to your family, children, etc. So this is how we see a learning, a training.
Thank you for watching and listening till the end. If you enjoyed this conversation, we invite you to follow us. Stay tuned, we will launch next interview with Artur very soon.